Hey everyone, welcome to Girl Dad Girls. It's your girl Ravishing Rachel. Of course, we have QT Danny B, Bree St. Marie, and we have a special guest this evening. We have Stephanie and ABQ. Stephanie, why don't you say hi to everybody?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Steph. Welcome to the podcast. Woo.
Great to be here.
Um,
Awesome. We are so excited to have you. Why don't you start us off a little bit? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
who are you?
Um, let's see, where should I begin? Born in Philadelphia, left there 35 years ago, moved to Albuquerque 2001. Um, Started my transition 16 months ago, and I'm very happy now. So
Awesome. Awesome.
yeah.
So I gotta say, when you started off saying that you were from Philadelphia, I don't know why, but the Fresh Prince theme song just hit there.
Immediately.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not the
West
only one.
I just
Philadelphia,
wasn't
born
They
and
just
I
were.
just
raised.
wasn't born in West Philadelphia. So I was
So
actually born in a part of town that's very infamous these days, which is Kensington, which when I was growing up was a lower middle class neighborhood. Now it's like ravaged by drugs and there are homeless people out in the streets, and it's really bad. But you
Ooh. Did you go
know,
back at all?
I was last back there 7 years ago. My family and I took a vacation to Ocean City, New Jersey, which is about
Wow.
75 miles, I think, from Philadelphia. And I took my family to the neighborhood I grew up in because I wanted to see for myself what it was like, and I wanted them to see where I'd grown up. And I remember we were driving down the street, and there was a woman standing on the sidewalk. Uh, Leaned over at like a 45 or 90-degree angle, just standing there. And my stepdaughter said, "What is she doing?" I said, "She's nodding off. She just shot up." And that's something that heroin addicts do. They nod off while standing up. It's really a sad sight to see. When I was
Wow.
younger, I would make fun of people like that. Um, as I've gotten older, I understand why they get like that because they're in pain, and they're looking to get rid of their pain, and unfortunately, they fall down into this deep abyss that they usually can't get out of. So, well, this
I
took a dark turn really quickly, didn't
hey,
it?
but you know what? Like I get that. Like I have a very dear loved one in my life
Hmm.
who, believe it or not, actually was a mortician.
Hmm.
And so he spent a lot of time, literally, literally, and I don't mean this to sound morbid, but literally lifting dead weight, right?
Sure.
And because of that, it led to a ton of physical ailments,
Right.
mainly back issues.
Yeah.
And it's super easy when you have back pain. Just take a pill. It's fine.
Right. Right.
But then
Hmm.
after a while, one pill becomes two pills, becomes
Oh,
10 pills.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's how addictions happen. And
Right.
Did y'all ever
thankfully,
watch Dope Sick? Have
I
you
have.
no,
Dope Sick on
never
that?
heard of it.
It's a like a 6-part miniseries. Michael Keaton's in it. But it's basically about the opium. Oh no, no,
Oh
not the
yeah,
opium. The
Opioid
opioid.
crisis.
Yeah.
opioid
Um.
crisis. It's on
But
my
yeah,
list.
it's like it's based a lot here in Virginia. So, yay, Virginia. Oh, drugs.
Aren't you
But
proud?
yeah,
Yeah.
no, I mean, like honestly, no, but I like the sad thing is, I feel like it's a really rampant in the trans communities because, like, I feel like when people first
Oh
start,
my God, yeah.
like that whole not passing thing. I know for me, like there was the series of negative things that happened, getting a divorce, losing my
Mhm.
house, and realizing that that I was my life was over as this life that I built was over. I started drinking pretty heavily. We're gonna do
Yeah.
an episode on that soon on drinking, but check back soon every Thursday. Um,
Subtle plug. Subtle
yeah,
plug.
subtle plug. Plugging our own. Yeah. Um,
Uh,
yeah.
I
But
mean,
sorry, go ahead, Rach.
yeah, 100,000%. Like you kind of hit it on the head there, Danny. Like it's so easy to fall into that, especially when so much of your life is changing, like very similar. By the time I started my transition, right when I started my transition, I had filed for divorce. I was at the time living in my car. I lived 9 hours away from my entire family. Like I didn't have a support system, and I could see how it would be so easy to fall into that circle. And yeah, unfortunately, you're right. Like in the trans community, it is a big issue just because oftentimes, like, we can feel alone and isolated.
Sure. So many of us give up so much just to have
Yeah.
what we need and what we have. So yeah, I think that's going to drive a lot of people to deaden their pain. Thankfully I haven't really had that issue, but that's just me. I'm just a single person. I mean, it's yeah, I'm sure it's a widespread problem, and it is something that I think needs to be addressed. So I'm glad that you're going to be doing a future episode on these things.
Yeah, I think yeah, I mean it's I think it's something that we've all struggled with. But yeah, that's the good thing about having this podcast is we can talk about what the hell we want. So
Yeah.
yeah. How is it like how is it you so just for those who are curious, Steph, you're in Albuquerque?
Yes, I am. Albuquerque, New Mexico.
And how is the Albuquerque LGBT/trans scene?
Um, I feel very lucky and very grateful to be living where I live in this day and age. New Mexico and Albuquerque in particular is very, very trans friendly. In the 16 months since I've transitioned, I've had very few issues. I never get hassled.
It's nice.
Yeah, I mean, I was intentionally misgendered once, and that was pretty early on because my car broke down one day. Not that it broke down, I couldn't get it to start, so I called a service to have someone come out and start it, and I managed to get it to start right before the person they'd sent out showed up, and I contacted the agency, the service. I said, "Hey, I don't need this person," but it was too late. He showed up like 10 seconds later. I said, I got it started, but thanks for coming out. I said, yeah, no problem. Have a good day, sir. And I remember getting in the car and just very like, fuck, because I was like, is this how it's going to be? Because at this point, I'd only been transitioning for 4 or 5 months, and I'm like, is this how it's going to be? But thankfully, it hasn't. The only other issue that I've had is I'm a substitute teacher. I've been doing this since February. And I was substituting one day for a first grade class. And it was a school where you do not see the parents typically. The kids come in from outside, they leave at the end of the day. You don't get involved with the parents. And about a week after I had subbed in this class, I got a phone call from the agency I work for. Here in Albuquerque, substitute teachers are employed by an outside agency, Kelly Education, and they have a contract with the Albuquerque public school system. And I received a phone call from Kelly, and my contact person there said, "Stephanie, do you remember subbing at this particular school a week ago?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Did anything unusual happen that day?" I said, "The only thing I could think of was that I got the voice question." And the voice question is, whenever I go to a new classroom, because I haven't feminized my voice yet, it kind of throws people off, especially kids. So if I go into a new classroom, within the first 5 minutes, I inevitably get a question, a hand raised, and I call on the person and say, "Why do you look like a girl and sound like a boy?" Now these are, I stick with kindergarten through like third grade for this reason, because the explanation I give, I don't say, oh, Johnny, it's because I'm transgender. It's not my place to teach these children about that. That's not my place. I'm just there as a substitute. So what I say is, well, I just have an unusual voice, but you know what? Everyone has a different voice. Your voice is different than her voice, and her voice is different than his. And they all go, okay. And they forget all about it. So I explained to my contact about that. And she said, well, we got a complaint from a parent. I said, I never met any parents. And she said, well, here's the unusual part, though, Steph, is that there was a non-specific complaint, meaning they weren't complaining about anything in particular that you did or said or taught. They were just complaining about you. So yeah, so I can only surmise that what happened was one of the students went home, and the parent said, "So how was school today?" And the student said, "Oh, it was okay or good or whatever. We had a substitute today, but the substitute was a woman, but she sounded like a man." And I'm guessing the parent was probably a Fox News / Trump supporter / right wing conservative person, and decided, well, I'm not going to let some woke person, indoctrinate my kid with their agenda, and whatever they said. And they contacted the school and complained, and the school in turn had to report it to my employer. And so I'm now no longer allowed to substitute at that school as long as that student is there. But that's okay, because I've since gotten long-term assignments at other schools, and it's fine.
All from
not
one
fine,
student
but
and one complaint.
All on one student from one school. The parent of one student at one school.
I mean, like, if that was the only school that you could go to, like it seems like that would be just like a lawsuit waiting to happen.
It would. Yeah, I mean, it would be devastating to me. But yeah, you're right. It would also be, a potential lawsuit. But Kelly Education explained it in a good way. They said, this is, you're not being punished, and they made sure to stress that you're not being punished. We're taking the school away in case you happen to sub there again, and this student sees you again. It's just going to, aggravate the situation. So there are other schools. If there were no other schools, I'd be much more upset.
Well, yeah, I would sue the crap
yeah,
out
I mean,
of them.
it's one day, and Kelly has to look out for themselves as well. I don't blame Kelly for doing what they do. Like I said, they stressed that I didn't do anything wrong, which I didn't. I mean, I'm just there.
Yeah.
But it all worked out in the end, because since then I've taken several long-term assignments. I'm currently at a different elementary school where I'm teaching developmental preschool, at least until the end of December, and possibly through the end of the school year, which would be till the end of May. So,
I also want to just take a minute and honestly just commend you for how you verbalize that. Like, I feel like that's the big argument, is the whole indoctrination. And
right.
I could honestly see where that could be a slippery slope. But the way that you present it is so non-confrontational and non-indoctrinating that I honestly just want to take a minute and just kind of give you that round of applause, because honestly, that's a big thing. Like, that's the perfect way to put it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's I hate using this phrase, but it is what it is. I mean, it's not something I have any control over. This parent, like I said, never met me. Would have this parent could have passed me on the street at some point and would have not have known that I was the person that they reported to the school.
If I were to call the school and be like, hey, there's a Christian teaching my kid, and I don't like that, would they kick that teacher out?
That's a good, well, Maybe that's a good question, Danny, and I would want to say yes, but deep down inside, I would have to say probably not. This is because why would a parent complain about a Christian? Why would they
Oh
complain about
God.
anything? The bottom
Easy,
line
easy,
is that
easy to do.
I've been entrusted to take care of your child. Um, there's so much that you have to go through to even become a substitute teacher. Now, um, the requirements are a lot less than being a regular full-time teacher. For instance, to be a can you hear that?
No,
There's a thunderstorm happening behind me. So
really, it seems so
hopefully,
bright.
yeah, I know it, but I can hear it, and I also have lights on around me as well. To be a substitute teacher, you do not even need a college degree, which I do not have. I have a high school diploma and I have 1 year of college. But I had to undergo two different background checks. I had to be fingerprinted twice. One of the background checks was through the FBI. The other was through the Albuquerque public school
Really?
system. I had to be fingerprinted twice. I was Zoom interviewed by Kelly Education. And then I had to go through an orientation. So it wasn't like I applied and they said, "Oh, okay, you start tomorrow." It took me 2 months to get the job from the time I applied until
Lord.
the time that I was told that I was allowed to. And on top of that, I had to get a license. I have a substitute teacher license, so I'm actually licensed. So to go through all that, sometimes the parents don't understand what all's involved to become just even a substitute teacher. A regular teacher, has a degree and a lot of other training. I don't have any of that. But I probably go through more background checks than a regular teacher does. So I think it's fair to say that if I'm with a student, if I'm with a classroom, it's a pretty good bet that I am there honestly and without any agenda and not there to indoctrinate anyone. I was there because last year I had lost my job that I'd had. I was working at a call center, and one of my former coworkers reached out to me and said, "Hey, Stephanie, I just got hired by Kelly Education to be a substitute teacher, and I think that you would be great at it." And you know what? He was right. I am great at it. And I don't mind saying that. I've only been doing it since February, but everyone who is interacted with me at any school will tell you I'm a good teacher. Um,
Yeah.
I from like my first assignment, the very first assignment I had was at a pre-K class for like 3 days, and my assistant said, "Stephanie, you are a natural. The way that these kids have responded to you, given that you have absolutely no experience, you are a natural." So, you know, it's it's the school's loss that I'm not able to substitute there anymore. But like I
Yeah.
said, I've
Because of
moved on.
one
I
parent.
I I can't dwell on things like that. I
Yeah.
can't. You
I
And
mean,
so
it. Oh, go ahead, Rach.
I was gonna say the whole one parent
Yeah.
concept really, I don't know, really scares me
Mhm.
because I'm no I'm no stranger to the education industry. My mom is a substitute teacher
Okay.
back home in Iowa.
Mhm.
Um, she was a full-time teacher and since retired, and substitute is her retirement.
Right. That's very
Um,
common. That's very common.
yeah,
Yeah.
and my brother is a high school teacher back in
Mhm.
Iowa,
Right.
and he is in like the whole ag ed FFA department, right? That's his niche.
Yeah.
And so with that comes a lot of extracurriculars, outside events, as well as on campus stuff like school greenhouse, yada, yada, yada.
Mhm.
And when you have an online persona like so many of us do,
Mhm.
um, I've often posted pictures in his classroom. I've posted pictures in his greenhouse helping out with this, that, and the other thing. And
Yeah,
I'm sitting here, I'm like, yo, like if one parent saw this,
right.
is that going to
Mm.
make life hell? Because, oh no, Rachel's hanging out with high school kids with her
Yeah.
brother.
That's something we need to be aware of. I mean, I never, the only time I take pictures in a classroom is if I'm alone by myself and there's nothing that would identify me being at a particular school or at a particular classroom. I have to be very, very careful about that. So, but I have posted a couple of pictures of myself just sitting in a classroom, but they're innocent pictures. They're just selfies. That's mostly what all I post on Instagram is selfies, So
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, Rachel made me talking about your family made me think. Do you have any siblings, Steph?
um so let me backtrack to chronologically. My mother died when I was 8. My father died when I was 17. I had a sister who was 21 years older than me. She died several years ago. She had 3 children. She has a niece who is 3 years older than me, and we are still in touch.
Or was she the daughter, or she had?
My sister, no, she is my sister's
Oh,
daughter.
your sister had,
Yeah.
yeah. So she
Yeah,
has,
my
yeah, okay.
sister had 3 children. She had one girl who is my niece,
Yeah,
even though she's 3 years older than me.
gotcha. Yeah, okay, gotcha.
She had one son who was 9 months younger than me, who died about 10 years ago from complications from AIDS. And then circling back to the drug problem, she had another son, who my younger nephew, who is 3 years younger than me, who I've not spoken to in about 30 years, who last I'd heard was a crackhead. And no one in the family talks to him. He has a ex-wife and a daughter. They just leave him be. Myself, I know I've spoken to you about this before, Danny. I was married, still technically am, for 10 years. We have a daughter. Her name is Morgan. She is 8. She is the most amazing person I've ever known. It will be forever my favorite person in the whole world, and I just love her to death. So,
Amazing.
Do you? I know you told me, but I feel like it was such a good story about.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to tell that story?
Which one? There's
The one about
the most recent story.
Yeah, the
Okay.
about
So
yeah.
So when I started my transition, my technically still my wife had thrown me out of the house a few weeks before she discovered that I was transitioning. The marriage was disintegrating already, and it got to the point where she's like, "I want you to leave." Okay. A few weeks later, she found out by accident. Unfortunately, I hate that she found out that way. She found out I was transitioning, and she at that time demanded that I not present around my daughter. And for a time, I agreed to that because that's, for an 8-year-old, or 7 at the time, that's some pretty heady stuff to find out that your father is now a woman. So I went along with it for a while with the hopes that it would get better over time. When it appeared that it would not get better, I kind of took matters into my own hands. And earlier this summer, when I would have my daughter over at my apartment, I would start presenting around her. And I discovered that she was okay with it. She wasn't 100% okay with it at first, but the more that I presented around her, the more she felt at ease. And it got to the point where I had to kind of spill the beans to her mother that, hey, I've been presenting around her. She's okay with it. And I presented her with evidence. And while she cursed me out initially, my doing that kind of lifted the veil, and I was now able to start presenting. So, and this happened just in the past month, I would say. A couple of days ago, I picked my daughter up from school because I'm now allowed to, since I'm allowed to present around her, I'm able to pick her up from school a couple of times a week. She and her mother rather, and I agreed to that. So I picked her up from school and I took her to McDonald's. So while we were there, I decided to approach the subject of how to address me because I'd never really spoken to her directly about it. Her mother had asked me a while back, "What do you want Morgan to call you?" I'm asking you because I don't want her to call you mommy. And I didn't want that either. And I told her, I said, whatever Morgan wants to call me is fine. It's her choice. It's her decision. And I trust that she will make the appropriate choice and make the right choice. So while we were there at McDonald's, I said, "So Morgan, when we're out in public, I know you call me dad, but when we're out in public, I thought maybe it might be a good idea, so as to not to confuse people, to call me Maddie because it's close to daddy, and with the M in the front, it kind of implies mommy." And excuse me if I get emotional on this because I've gotten emotional before when telling the story. She said to me, "No, I'm going to call you daddy in public because you're my daddy, you're transgender, and that's normal." And I sat there stunned, and she could see the tears welling up in my eyes from that. And because I'm now much more emotional as we all have gotten, so there's been times when I've gotten emotional in front of her, and she gets a little embarrassed by it, but she has a sense of humor about it. So she'll say, "Daddy, don't do it. Don't do it." So because she said that, I kind of gathered myself. It was lighthearted. She then came around to the table, sat on my lap facing me, and put her head on my shoulders.
Oh, that's
and I mean, someone asked me, she's like, where does this come from? Did her mother discuss this with her? No. Her mother has badmouthed me for the past 16 months, along with her adult sister. So she just has this sense about her, and it's incredible.
Yeah, like until I feel like until kids get like told by some adult that like you need to hate this thing for some reason. Like I feel like kids are just generally good.
All behavior, Dani, is learned behavior.
100. 100.
Yeah,
like
you're not born hating people or discriminating against people. You're taught that.
Like I think I've told this story before. I know Dani has heard it at least once. So if I'm repeating, I'm sorry.
Oh, I love your stories.
But like I remember taking a walk with kiddo, and it was a very impromptu, and I was wearing a dress, and kiddo never sees me in dresses, but I was wearing this like flannel dress with little white heels, and kiddo's like, "Why are you wearing a dress? Only mommies wear dresses." And I said, "I don't know, baby." I said, "It just makes me feel good." And she's like, "Okay." And that was the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
People always ask me, "Have you had the conversation?" And I'm sitting here, I'm like, "No, like we don't need to. Like it doesn't have to be a big thing. It's only a big thing."
People tend to think that life is like a movie or an hour-long TV show. It was like, okay, and in this scene we sit down and it doesn't work like that. This is a fairly recent development with me as far as being able to present. And just last week, my daughter said to me, just totally unprompted, "I'm glad you're able to finally be yourself."
Oh, that's cute.
That's awesome.
I love that. Ugh. I mean,
so my daughter is 2 years old, so she doesn't know the difference between anything yet. And I'm very fortunate that my ex is very supportive of me around her and She uses my pronouns and everything else. But she calls me BB, is what my parent name is currently. I don't know what she's going to land on when she gets older, but that's where we are now. I don't even know if we are going to have whatever the conversation is, because she's so young and she's not going to know any different whatsoever. I know she'll see pictures at some point, but of the old person, but I don't know. We'll find out. That's the exciting part.
I love the people who like get mad that because I'm still, I mean, my daughter's 2. I'm not going to correct a 2-year-old, but I was in a work chat today and was like, yeah, we have a podcast called The Girl Dad Girls, and somebody's like, why are you guys, or why are y'all dads? And it's like, because we knocked up our daughter's moms, and they're like, yeah, but that's really, and it's like, I caught a bunch of grief from these like people who were supposed to be, you know, open-minded and you know, you can't criticize them, but they when you say I'm dad, they go all ape about it. But it's like, yeah, I mean, first off, I'm not going to correct a 2-year-old because that's insane, and second off, it's like why does it matter? Like, you know,
Well,
live your own goddamn life.
and I think it kind of goes like doubling far back into the conversation that we were having a couple minutes ago, Stephanie. I love how you have that mindset of your kid can call you whatever your kid wants to call you. My first public limelight, I guess you'd call it, was I did an interview with Daily UK Media, and I was not in a good frame of mind when I did it. I was on pain medication from surgery, but but that's literally the topic of the article, is that kiddo referred to me at the time as dad, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, yo, like, it's my kid's decision. Like, I'm not going to quote unquote indoctrinate beliefs onto anyone's child, including my own. Whatever my kid wants to call me is what they'll call me. Like, that's not my place to have that conversation. And that has included me sitting at the nail salon with kiddo, and kiddo just very impromptu looking at the girl doing her nails, and looks back at me, looks at the girl doing her nails, and goes, that's my dad, you know? And I'm just sitting here like,
yeah. When pretty early on in my transition, I asked the members of a transgender support group that I'm in on Facebook. I asked them, how do you deal with this? How, you know, those of you who are parents of children and you're transitioning, how does your son or daughter address you? And I got 30 responses, and each one was different. And but it made sense, because there is no, there's no one size fits all for anything that we are going through, whether it be, how to address your, how your children address you, or how to do this, how to do that. There's no rule book. There's no guidelines. And that's good. That's good. That means that you're free to do, as you need to do, as you see fit. If your son wants to call you whatever, that's his or her choice. So
I feel like there's a lot of people out there who it's like the vocal minority of these people out there that are like, you have to do this, and it's because it's my opinion. And it's like, no, sorry, it's your world and I just live in it. I apologize.
Right. The vocal minority. Amen. Like,
yeah, they are very vocal, that minority.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
like they are.
It's I mean, and shockingly, in my experience, it's those who live in glass houses still throw rocks, and it's like, okay, well,
yeah. Thankfully they are a minority, and we are much more aware of them because all of us are on social media. But your average person is not on social media, and that is a great thing, because they don't know about people like Matt Walsh or Ben Shapiro or Charlie Kirk, or even we were talking about Blair White earlier. Your average person doesn't know any of these people. And as a result, at least in my own experience over the past 16 months, I've learned it for the most part, people don't care
Yeah.
if I'm transgender. They don't care,
Yeah.
which means I'm able to live my life the way that I want to live my life. I don't go out. There is in the back of my mind, there's always a concern that I may have an issue with someone later. Thankfully, it hasn't happened yet. But the way I look at it is that I may have an issue with someone regardless of whether I'm transgender or because I'm white or because my nationality is a certain nationality. There is any number of factors that could cause someone to have an issue with me. The fact that I'm transgender, that just happens to be that particular aspect. And I don't live in fear. I can't live in fear, and no one should live in fear. But that's my philosophy anyway.
Yeah.
My philosophy, and this is my take, like I'm very active in the trans community online, right?
Right.
Online, in the Reddit sphere, Instagram, but offline, you hardly ever hear me mention the word trans. The way I look at it is, if your gender identity is the coolest thing about you, if your gender identity is the most talked about part of you,
Right.
then baby, you got to work on that identity.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
Dani, am I?
No. I'm just sitting here like, uh-oh.
Danny's getting triggered.
Although I do have
So am I.
I literally have my dead name right here.
Yeah.
So because it's made out of wood and it's awesome.
At this point, my being transgender is a large part of my identity because it's relatively new. Given my age, I was another person for 59 years. I'm now this person, and I'm happy to be this person, and I'm excited to be this person. And
That still shocks the crap out of me. I mean, it is the fountain of youth, because I'd put you at like 42.
Yeah, I know I've turned it into my own personal joke. It inevitably comes up in conversation, and as soon as someone finds out my age, the typical response is, "Get the fuck out of here!"
Yeah,
Get the fuck out of here! I'm like, no, I'm serious. There have been times I've had to pull out my driver's license to show my date of birth. Yeah, HRT is magic, as they say. But I don't hide who I am. I know people who are stealth, and if that's how you want to be, that's fine. I think it does the trans community a disservice to be stealth. I think that the more people see us, that we're visible out there, I think it helps those of us who are going to come after us. But that's just my philosophy. One of the things that drives that for me was a conversation that I had earlier this year at a school that I was substituting at, that I had substituted at several times. And I was having a conversation with the counselor at that school. And this is an elementary school. And the subject of being transgender came up. And she said to me, "Stephanie, you are a role model for these students." And I never thought about it because I don't talk about that in the classroom. It's like I said, it's not my place to, but I think the students have a sense that there is something unique about me, and to be told that you're a role model, that's a heavy weight to be placed on one's shoulders. And when that happens, you can approach it either a couple different ways. You can either go, oh, no, 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 and just deny it, or you can just accept it and understand that this is who you are now. This is who I am now. And later that evening, I posted this story on my Facebook page, and I have a lot of transgender friends now on Facebook, and I also have a lot of non-transgender, cis people. And when I posted the story, I got some surprising responses that were all similar, which is like, Stephanie, you're a role model for all of us. And that really hit me hard. So I've kind of taken upon myself to be that role model. I don't walk around, with trans tattooed on my forehead, but if someone asks me, I will admit it. I've had 2 incidences that in the past 3 or 4 weeks, where the first one was I was inside a Starbucks, and I was sitting at the bar area, and a woman came up to me and said, "Excuse me, can I ask you a question?" And I said, "Sure." And she said, "Are you transgender?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And she said, "I had a feeling you were. I have a granddaughter who is 8. She is transgender. She was born a male, and she knew from as early as she could remember that she wanted to be a girl. So she wanted to ask me questions about how did I know and when did I know. We wound up having an hour-long conversation. And during this conversation, I'm realizing I'm now a representative for the trans community. That was how I took that. I'm now a representative, and this is who I am. At the end of the conversation, she said, "Can I take a picture with you so that I can show my granddaughter that I spoke to you and to let her know that it's okay?" I was like, "Absolutely." I said, "Can I take a picture as well?" And we did, and it was great.
I guess I guess she's lucky though that she came upon you, because I feel like there's a lot of people out there where if you were to ask that question,
and I addressed that with her. I say, just so you know, this is not something that is typically asked of someone. You shouldn't make assumptions. And she understood. She's like, I agree. But you seemed approachable. So I wasn't offended, but I could see where someone would be offended. It all depends on the person. And I had a similar situation just the other night. I went to a grocery store, and there was a woman who was in front of me, who was disabled and had a service dog. She wanted to use one of the motorized carts, and she was a regular at this store, as am I. I'd never seen her there before, but she was upset that the motorized cart that she was trying to use was the slow one, because she shops here all the time. She was trying to check the other cart that had some sort of note on it, but she couldn't see it, so she asked for my help. At first, she thought I was someone that she knew. She said, "Are you Jenny?" I was like, No, I'm not. You look like my friend Jenny." So I'm like, "Okay." She asked me a few minutes later. She said, "Are you a trans woman?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "Well, you're beautiful." But it was, but here's the part that is I've told this story and I posted the story. A lot of people are upset with the following part, because she said, "Well, you're beautiful." She said, "I know many other trans women, and they are not very good looking, but you are very pretty."
I mean, that's something I did want to talk about. I think we talked about this in the live about the pretty privilege.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody here, I mean, I feel like we all kind of benefit from it. When people give you a pass if they find you attractive, and I have conservative friends who, because they find me attractive for whatever reason, I think I look like a femboy, but they find and people will be really nice to us. I mean, I guess that is kind of one of the things that, unfortunately, I do know some trans women who for one reason or another, they look a lot more male than they
Right.
desired.
Right.
And I feel like those are the people that the media really tends to target, like the people who dress
Yeah.
extremely like the ones who are in their 30s and 40s but dress like they're a teenager. Um, um, uh-oh. Ugh.
And
But yeah, then like then
What?
I feel like the rest of us get like when they see, I feel people stare at us because they're expecting us to like do something like the sort of the more outlandish
Right.
transition. They almost like expect us to be like low key drag, essentially.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like in pretty privilege, like that's such a thing.
I'll be right
Like,
back. Somebody's harassing me.
oh boy. But like I I have a friend, and I honestly will call him my friend. He is a very conservative man. He's very Christian oriented. And he is a big fan of Donald Trump.
Oh, that's too bad.
He's not
Yeah,
perfect.
I'm sorry.
But he's a great man. He has great morals. He has great values.
And he's
And
huge. Sorry. Sorry.
I mean,
Around.
I mean, me and him have dated. And
Hot.
I'm sitting here like, and I literally told him to his face. I said, I think it's really interesting that you're so conservative and so Trumpish,
Yeah.
but yet you want to be with me. And he's like, I don't know, you're just you. Like, you're gorgeous, you're sweet, you're kind, you're funny, da 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 da. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh. But yeah, I mean, needless to say, like, it didn't work out for reasons.
Yeah.
But I thought it was funny that because he found me attractive, all of a sudden that conservative focal point didn't matter anymore.
Right. He's willing to look past his ideological viewpoint because you're pretty,
I mean,
and that is so shallow. I mean, it's like
I guess it is, they're expecting us to look and sound, well, as I say this, but they're expecting us to look and sound like guys. And so when we show up and we actually look like women and we sound like women, that kind of throws them. They're like, oh, okay, I guess I can accept that. I can look beyond it because I can have sex with it.
I went. I had a date. I'm not going to say I went on a date with a guy. I had a date with a guy. And I use that phrasing because the date lasted 2 seconds. And I mean, very literally 2 seconds. He beat me to the restaurant. I walked in. One of the first things he said was, "You don't look like a dude." I'm sitting here and I'm like, and
see ya. Adios.
He said, "You don't look like a dude." Was he was wanting that?
He had seen pictures of me. He had FaceTimed with me before we met in person. It was the whole Tinder scene. It was back in my single life.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting here, I'm like, what were you expecting? Like, were you expecting a beard? What
was he trying to be humorous? I mean, if he was, it was a very poor attempt.
I'd have been like, hey, you don't either. Bye.
Bye.
I don't know. But like, and the thing is when I was single, the first thing you would see on my dating profile is, yo, I'm trans.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Mine's with the picture of my main picture.
Very first sentence in all the dating apps. In all the dating apps I'm on, very first sentence, I'm a transgender woman. Doesn't stop people from looking at the pictures and liking me. And when I get a match, and they look at my profile at that point, they unmatch and never talk to me again.
Very true.
I had There was real quick. There was one guy who matched with me, and I went and looked, or like because I subscribe to the thing so I can see the people that have liked me. And I went and
Yep.
saw this one guy, and I scrolled down at the very bottom of his profile. He's not interested in trans women, and I really wanted to match with him and be like, "Hey, I read your profile. I guess you didn't read mine," and then just be like, see what he says.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've done that so many times.
They
I
actually put
seek
like, "I
out
don't want trans in
seek
this."
out the drama.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like it's been fun. It's been a ride.
I do have one. There was one guy on Bumble that like we matched, and I said, "Hey, how's it going?" And he reached out and he's like, "Hey, sorry, I didn't read your profile. I'm really not interested in trans, but you seem like a great person, and beautiful XYZ." And I was like, "Yeah, you know what? Thanks for being honest. Honestly, like I keep the match open just in case you change, if and when you change your mind." And I gave him a bunch of winky faces, and it's like it just takes a little bit of time. Once you get desperate enough, come on back to mommy.
That's how I got my
Come
first
on back,
with
baby.
benefit.
So
I-
you would accept this person if they had changed their mind?
The guy.
The fact that they initially said no, I'm not into transgender women.
Yeah, but he said sorry, I'm just not interested in that right now. I mean, he was older than me. He's probably like 48, 49.
That's old.
Well, I mean, 10 years older. 10 years older is a little bit like a little bit. It's a bit of a stretch, but he was
Watch your words
very
here.
nice about it, and I was just like, you know what, honestly. He was like it's hard because you're very pretty, and I was just like, you know what, one of these days you're gonna probably be drinking too much after a bad day at work, and you'd be like, you know what, I'm gonna go hit that trans girl up.
I find it fascinating that on the dating apps, I get a lot of likes from men in their 20s
Yeah,
and as young as like 18 and 19. Because not only are they into transgender women, they're into older women.
yeah.
So it's like double whammy.
I had a guy reach out and he was like, he wants to smash this weekend, and I was like, you want to just get a drink first? He goes, actually, I'm 20, I can't drink, and I was like, oh god, I could be your parent.
No.
It's like I am almost twice your age.
Let me bring you a juice box then.
Although I did say he would help me with my decade bingo. So because I need the odds. So
You need the odds.
I need the odds.
I'm-
I got 70s.
I'm good at the
80s,
odds. I'm good
90s.
at all the decades.
So what?
See, this is why I go older. This is why I go older.
Yeah, I mean he's it would have been
Like 10 to 20. That's where I'm at. 10 to 20.
years old. Gross. Right
I was like, you cradle robber.
Okay.
Y'all remember the story from the last After Hours, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Side-eyeing both of you.
We have fun here.
Yeah.
So Steph, what actually no, we'll get into the sexy talk in the after hours.
Oh Lord.
But
Hey, I got a question, and it is the most like non-serious question, but I'm just genuinely curious from someone who lives in New Mexico.
Mhm.
Have you been to Las Vegas, New Mexico?
I have not. No. Have
So-
you?
I have been through it.
Mhm.
Being an Iowa kid, I have family in Mesa, Arizona,
So you
which
have
when
to-
I'm driving to Mesa
Yeah.
from Iowa, it
Right.
leads me right through New Mexico. And let me tell you, in New Mexico, you might be on the interstate, see a gas station. The next one might not be for 90 miles, but you
That's
will
true.
always recognize Las Vegas, Nevada, or Las Vegas, New Mexico. And it
Mhm.
looks like a party, but it is not.
No.
There is nothing there.
Right.
wait, is it just like is it like set up like it's cool, but then it turns out to be like a ghost town?
Yes, they have the welcome to Las Vegas sign, just like Las Vegas, Nevada. But
Right.
that's about frickin' it. There is nothing there.
trying to suck you in. You know?
Suck you
It's
in for
like,
that tourism dollars.
Yeah.
Paris,
that's exactly
Texas.
it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Paris.
And
Yeah,
I'm sure that
All they
the town was.
have.
Yeah, I'm sure the town was named before Las Vegas became Las Vegas. And when they saw this, I was like, I mean, there's another town here called Truth or Consequences, and they got their name. I forget what their original name was, but they thought it would be a good promotion to be named after the game show. There was a game show, Truth or Consequences, and that's now what they're known as. They have very nice hot springs there. I have been there.
Seems like they did not think about the consequences of that name.
But there are natural hot springs there, and oh my gosh, they feel so good. You get to go in there privately for like a half hour, an hour, and you just soak in this naturally hot water, and it just feels tremendous. I highly recommend it.
Bree, you mentioned Paris, Texas.
Yeah, that's where my aunts are from. My parents live there. My mom and her older siblings are Parasites, but her youngest sister is a Parisian.
You made me think of you made me think of a story, and it's the dumbest story, but I got to. Wisconsin, being an Iowa kid, Wisconsin. And my brother and I, we went to a Green Bay Packers game in Lambeau Field. And while we were at this game, I drank a little too much, and he had to take care of me on the drive home. Sorry, big brother. But we were on our way home. We were stuck in traffic, and I had to pee really bad because I drank too much, and I was also drunk. And as we were driving home in this traffic going 15 mile an hour on the interstate, I saw a road sign, and this road sign said Freedom, which is a town in Wisconsin, said Freedom, 1 mile. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, we're almost there.
That's hilarious.
That is funny.
Yeah. Actually, real quick trivia. Do you know what major food company is in Paris, Texas?
Oh.
It's not Hershey's chocolate.
No.
Not.
Can you give me a hint, Danny?
It is something you could eat or drink.
Right? That could be anything if you're desperate enough.
Yeah.
Is it Jaeger?
What?
Is it Jaeger?
It is not. It is, and it comes in cans, mostly exclusively.
Spam?
I love Spam.
It is the
The
headquarters
sausages.
of Campbell's Soup. It is based out of Paris, Texas.
They weren't always based out of there.
Yeah.
For many, many years, they were based in Camden, New Jersey, which is right outside of Philadelphia. Their factory would be right there.
See, there's that trivia. It's just it leaks out all the time.
Like I said before, I'm a bastion of useless knowledge.
Now I want chicken noodle soup. Thank you for this.
Sorry. I'm gonna go make it. After this, I'm making tomato soup and a grilled cheese. Bam.
This episode brought to you by Campbell's.
Yeah.
That's right.
Unofficially.
Soup is good food.
Steph, I know we'd asked you this at the beginning of the well, we talked about this before. Do you want to go ahead and go into your transition theme songs real quick?
Yeah. The thing about theme songs is that it's not so much the entire song. It's just that there is something in a song, just like a set of lyrics, even a portion of the lyrics, where the overall song may not be related to trans. But the first song, which I've always been a fan of, from my favorite artist Bruce Springsteen, is "Dancing in the Dark."
The boss.
There is a line in that song that has always struck me, but now that I'm trans, I can see why this line appealed to me so much. The line is, "Want to change my clothes, my hair, my face." And when it came out, I was like, okay, yeah, I can, because I'm not happy with myself. But now looking back, it's like, this is why I was not happy with myself, because I wasn't who I am now. So that song and that line means so much more to me than it did before. You know.
Yeah. I mean that makes a lot of sense because I did a post recently and did Michael Jackson's "Man in the Mirror," which
Right.
kind of sounds like it, like just on the face of it, that's like, why the fuck did you do that, idiot? But at the beginning, it's like I got to make a change, and like it's all
Right.
about like in the beginning song, part of it's all like about changing, and it's like appreciating the person in the mirror. It looked bad from when people who didn't have their sound on because they're like, wait, did Danny? Uh, but
Uno
yeah,
reverse.
yeah.
So
Reverse
so
Uno.
so that's my origin song. More recently, and you may agree with me because I know several trans women or trans people have taken to the song, the Billie Eilish song from the Barbie movie. What was I made for? Um, have that scene in that movie? I mean, the song by itself. I heard the song um, before I saw the movie, and that song punched me in the face. It's such a powerful song. I cried the first time I heard it. And if you put it in the context of the movie, if you haven't seen the movie, I won't spoil it. But the ending has a montage in it that song plays over, and I've seen the movie twice. The first time I saw it was with a friend, and that montage hit me kind of hard then. But then I saw it 2 weeks ago with my daughter. She wanted to see it with me. She had seen it with her sister or mother before, and she said, "I want to see it with you, Daddy." And it was so powerful. I had to actually look away and put my head down. I couldn't watch the montage with the song playing over it. And my daughter caught me doing this, and she came over to me and like stood in front of me just to comfort me, And the lines in that song about, what was I made for? Why was I born this particular way? Why wasn't I born the way I am now? And it hit pretty hard. That's my current trans song. So
I love it.
there you go.
That's wonderful. I mean, it's like, there's songs that make you cry, like Macklemore's "Same Love." I don't know if anybody's heard of that one, but
Not familiar with that, yeah.
it's but you haven't heard it?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you should go check it out because it's like basically the chorus is like this. He's sampling somebody's song, but it's like, yeah, I can't change even if I tried, even if I wanted to, and it's like, yeah,
yeah.
But I did have
It's
another
funny with music. It's funny how my tastes are changing music wise. I used to be, and I still am, a rock and roller. I mean, I played in bands when I was younger, and I play guitar. When we do our lives, I occasionally bring out my guitar and noodle on it. But I've gotten more into pop music in the past couple of years. I love Billie Eilish. I love Olivia Rodrigo. Oh my gosh, she is incredible. I have on my Spotify, in part because one of our mutual friends, Dani, I forget her name now, from Maine. We just recently met her, Sarah, I think her name is.
Oh, Sarah, yeah, Sarah,
the roller derby queen.
Oh yeah,
And,
wait, Sarah, Taylor Swift, Sarah.
Yes, that's why I was bringing her up, because one day in chat I said, if you don't mind my asking, how did you manage to achieve such a natural voice? And she said, it was because I have an hour commute each way every day. I sing along to Taylor Swift songs in the car. I was like, okay. So there's a playlist on Spotify, Taylor Swift's Complete Collection. It's every song released. It's a 24-hour playlist. And just in the past couple of days, I've started listening because I mean, whenever I hear something by her, I love it, but I haven't really listened to her. I'm loving what I'm hearing, so I need to get familiar with those songs so that I can start singing along
Yeah.
and hopefully achieve the same end result as Sarah has, you know. And my daughter loves that because she loves Taylor Swift. We're going to see the Taylor Swift Eras movie when it comes out next month. She's going to go see it with her sister, and then I'm going to take her separately. You know, my daughter has it made right now because she has her mother and her daughter to do things with, and then she has me to do girly things with, you know. And she's like, yes, I'm
Yeah.
I'm in a perfect world, you know.
I mean, yeah, I always say trans women are the best of both worlds, because, like, you know, we have all the parts of a guy with none of that testosterone rage. So.
Did you see that TikTok video from what is their name? It's but it has Emma Rose in it, trans porn star Emma Rose, and he talks about how trans women are, like what you said. It's like the best of both worlds. We know what the guys are going through because we've been there.
Yeah, we have intimate knowledge
totally
of what you
support
want.
of us. Yeah, it was totally in support of us.
Actually, speaking of that, I did have a quick question, if you don't mind. What do you think the name of the animatronic storytelling bear that was launched in 1985 and worked with an audio tape cassette tape deck?
You mean Teddy Ruxpin?
Yeah. I was wondering about that one. But yeah, and that actually leads me into "Go Ahead, Make My Day" as a famous quote.
Nice try, Danny.
What, you know that phrase, that saying, "Go ahead, make my day," was a famous quote
from Clint Eastwood. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But what was the movie? Do you remember what the movie was called?
Make My Day.
The film Sudden Impact.
Was it Dirty Harry?
So the film was Sudden Impact, but do you know what his character's name was?
Yeah, Harry. Harry. I know his first name is Harry.
You got it right with Dirty Harry. Actually, it was Dirty Harry. Is the answer.
No, but he has a last name, and I can't think of what his last name was. Yeah, he's Dirty Harry.
And for those who are curious,
a 357, and it's a 357 Magnum.
For those who are interested, wondering why the hell Danny just started asking random trivia questions, her superpower is random ass trivia.
I'm like an idiot savant when it comes to trivia.
Like Steph, what was in the crime drama TV series Magnum PI starring Tom Selleck? Where in the U.S. did the private investigator live?
That was in Hawaii.
Which basic cable and satellite television news channel was founded in 1980 by media proprietor?
That would be CNN.
Jesus Christ. What was the high? Oh no, actually, we've already done some of these, but let's go with how many red balloons were featured in the 1984 hit?
99, and the German version is Luftballons. Non Luftballons.
In 1980,
I love that song. That's a great song.
Which
the German version?
Which 1986 top song involved Dionne Warwick, Elton John, Gladys Knight?
That's what friends are for. You asked me that one. I mean, I already knew the answer, but you'd asked me that one before. That's why I was extra quick to answer it.
Yeah. Okay. And the last one I'll ask you is, and I know you've done this one before, but Canadians Chris Hanley and Scott Abbott created which popular board game?
Oh, Trivial Pursuit. Jesus Christ. I almost blanked out on that one. I even remember the wrong answer I gave you the other night when you asked me that.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Just floored every time.
So we started
mop the floor with everybody else in the room.
For those who weren't on that live, or those who hadn't watched the live, we started just randomly asking. I found this box that my friend got for a 5-finger discount from a brewery around town. For those who don't know, that means stealing it. And started asking random ass trivia questions, and Steph, just like some sort of fucking robot, just started hammering them out. So that's super impressive. You're massively impressive.
Thank you.
So those are my questions. The box. Yeah. I guess, Steph, is there anything? Actually, this is one question that I like to ask people. especially, do you remember when you were like in your 30s, like when you were in your 30s, what did you want out of the rest? Like, what did you want out of life?
That's a good question, and it's when I was younger, and I don't know, I've never really asked anyone else this, but I always thought that I would be famous for or known for something. And as time went on, like I told, I was in bands when I was younger. I was convinced I was going to be a successful musician, but I gave myself until 30 to do that. Once I hit there, I was like, oh, let's make it 35, and it still didn't work out, but you know, that's like hitting the lottery. If you become a, a rock star or a successful musician, um, you beat the odds.
Yeah, it's luck
Um,
and skill and
yeah, exactly. And I think most successful musicians, at least those who are not like arrogant and big headed, will tell you that. Yes, I got lucky,
yeah.
um, but I always thought that I would be something like that. And as time went on, I realized it wouldn't happen, but it may still happen. I don't know. Given my age and given who I am now,
Yeah.
I could see myself, being that. But I didn't really have any. This is a major flaw of mine. I think is that I lack ambition, and I hate that about myself. For as and I don't mean this in an egotistical way, but I have intelligence. I'm smart, but I don't have ambition. And without ambition, you could be the smartest person in the world and have nothing and be nothing, So that's always kind of bugged me. And ambition is not something that can be taught. Um, it's just something that is innately inside of you. And that's always, like I said, it's always bugged me.
I mean,
Certainly wasn't. I certainly wasn't expecting to be where I am now. Um, like I said, I never expected to have a child. I never expected to be married. I certainly never expected to transition.
well,
It's Go ahead.
the the reason I always ask is because we, being that we're all 30x,
Mhm.
we have things that we value now, and it's like these are things I want for the future, and I always
Right,
love to like see if that can align with if that aligns with what somebody else remembers from their 30s, and they're like, actually, I
right,
realized that was just a giant waste of time, like
yeah,
wanting to be popular and successful, and then
right,
I realized that didn't, and I always say, did you achieve it? And if they're like, yeah, I achieved it, or no, I didn't achieve it, it's like, do you regret that you didn't achieve it? And they're like, no, I like,
yeah.
fine.
I mean, in my 30s, I'll tell you where I was in my 30s. I was for most of it, I was working at a call center. Um, for the local telephone company in Philadelphia, which was at the time Bell Atlantic, which later became Verizon, and they are now a national cell phone company. At the time, they were not cell phone. The cell phones hadn't really existed. I mean, they existed, but they were for the rich and and famous. Your average person still had a landline, and I worked there for 6 years. And for a while, I thought that it's a good job. It's a union job. It's a job that you could stay at for 20 years if you wanted to. You could move around in the company. Um, After 6 years, I got tired of it, and I just left. I was unable to get any other job positions within the company for whatever reason. Um, and it was a decent paying job. I mean, at the time, I was making close to $700 a week, which in 1996, really good money. Almost $700 a week today is not bad money. But it was really good money back then, and I gave up because I wasn't happy with it. Um, my personal life, I had none. Um, I did not. I was not with a single woman that entire time. I felt that I was not worthy to be with someone. That was my low self-esteem. That's one nice thing about my transitioning is that it's really affected my self-esteem in that it's definitely boosted it. I'm not as down on myself as I used to be. But yeah, back then I was, I mean, I had a decent personality. I had a great sense of humor. I got along with people. I just could not find anyone who wanted to be with me. But I also didn't try very hard. I was still, yeah, go ahead.
Do you regret like not putting more effort into that, or?
There's a part of me that does. It's a what if, what if I had put it out there. But just like when people ask me, do you regret not transitioning earlier? Because I get that a lot. Do you wish you had transitioned when you were younger? Well, yes, I do. I wish I had transitioned when I was in my 20s or my 30s. But then as soon as I say that, I remember I have a daughter. And if I had transitioned at that age, I wouldn't have her. And as I mentioned earlier in our conversation, she's the most important person to me. She's the most amazing person. I couldn't see living a life now without her. And I, I'm so grateful that I have her. So no, I don't regret it. I don't regret transitioning earlier. This was what my life was meant to be. I was meant to have my daughter when I had my daughter. I was meant to transition when I transitioned. Whatever happens after this, that was what was meant to be.
Love
I
it.
think
Beautiful.
I like to say everything happens for a reason. What that reason is for us to figure out. It could be something good, could be something bad, but everything happens for a reason, and it's up to us to determine what that reason is.
I love it.
Yeah. I went over that with Kizzy earlier today. We were FaceTiming. She's kind of despairing about her age a little bit. And it's something that I preach all day long. And it's that you can't coulda, woulda, shoulda with
Right.
any of this because it will consume you.
Yeah.
With anything in life.
Not,
Yeah. Not just transitioning or being transgender, with anything in life. We can't. There's no time machine. There's no rewind button. We have no control over it. And there were times when I would obsess over what I have done and what I have not done. But I've gotten to the point now where I'm like,
Yeah.
that's it. I mean, I can't do anything. So let's move on.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, there are two times when you can transition, now or later, and it's like, okay, well, I guess out of those two choices, now.
Yeah.
You can't be like, oh, back in the, it was always that saying of like, when's the best time to plant a tree? And it's like, right now, 20 years ago, and right now.
Right.
Like,
And when it comes to, did I know I wanted to transition 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago? Maybe unconsciously I did, but that wasn't, it wasn't at the forefront of my mind. There were things that I did that when I look back, when you're living your life day to day, it's up close. You can see, you know what happened yesterday. You know what happened the day before. So it's easy to look at that. But when you take a step back and look at the events that have gone on in your life, when you're transgender, at least in my case, there are certain signposts and certain markers that you look at something and go, oh, okay, that makes sense now. Like, this is going to sound like a really weird thing, but whenever I would go out with a woman and start a relationship, I'd say, hey, do you ever think about going blonde? And because for whatever reason, I couldn't get an actual blonde to go out with me. But if I got someone who wasn't blonde, hey, would you consider going blonde for me? And now I look at that and I realize I was the one who wanted to go blonde because I actually did a couple of times. There were times when I was in my 20s where I dyed my hair,
Yep.
which, yeah, I mean, it's not so uncommon now, but we're talking mid 80s. That was not a very common thing to do. We're talking mid to late 80s. I did it a couple of times, but I look back and I'm like, that's why I was telling or asking every woman I was with to go blonde, because I was living through her,
Yeah.
you know, and I wanted to be the blonde, you know, just stuff like that, that you look back and it all makes sense, you know, it's,
Yeah.
you know, but you don't see it at the time. It's not until your egg cracks. You know, we had that phrase, your egg cracking, you know. Once your egg cracks and you know that this is what you need to do, then all the pieces fall in place and it all starts to make sense of why you did the things that you did. So
Speaking of making sense, I'm glad you brought that up because there's a question that I'm going to start asking our trans guests.
okay.
And it is, do you have any advice for any of the uncracked eggs out there?
Ooh. That's one of those questions, like everyone is different. In my case, what cracked my egg was, and I know this gets talked about a lot and it gets bad mouthed a lot, but face app.
Yeah.
Face app is what, okay.
Yeah.
I first used face app several years ago when it first came out, and the gender filter on it was not very good. I tried it once. I took a single picture, and I will show you this. I still have this picture. It made me look like a chubby lesbian, and that's nothing against chubby women or lesbians, but I did not. I was like, yeah, I'll pass on that, you know. And I uninstalled the app. A few years later, I'd heard that they had upgraded or improved the filter, so I reinstalled it. And the first time I used it, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's me. That's me if I had been born a female. And I started messing with it, changing various settings. I have literally thousands of face app pictures that I have archived. Well, in my case, it got to be kind of fun because if you pay for face app, there are more options available to you. One of the things that you could do, which I learned, is that you can import a picture of another person and it'll meld you with that person. So I'd be like, what would I look like as an elderly Asian woman? What would I look like as a Black woman? What would I look like this? What would I look like if I had a big nose? What would I look like if I had blue eyes? And it was like living in the multiverse. There's like all these different variations of me. And I was like, wow, you know, but they're all female. That's what they have in common. I want to be one of these women. And here I am. And what's interesting is that the face app pictures are not too far off from what I look like now. They're not too far off.
Do you need
Mine
to get back
was
like
the first one that I ever did. I had started therapy in 2019. I was like, showed it to my therapist. I was like, this is achievable, right? And it's like, and I look at it now, and it was so far off.
Yeah,
but
some of the pictures are like, yeah, I don't look like that. There's no way I would look like that, nor would I want to look like that in some of the pictures. But yeah, in some of them, it was really close. You know.
Yeah, I say far off, but I think, in my opinion, in my own personal wellness, I think it ended up way better than it actually predicted.
Oh, I'm very happy.
Gives you something to aim for. So
yeah,
I did maybe 2 or 3 face apps back in 2019 as well when I first started, and I deleted it pretty quick. So I'm like, I don't want like something like giving me a false like
False sense
idea.
of hope. Yeah, false sense of hope. Yeah.
But here's the thing, and I think I've made a Reddit post about this. I think I made an Instagram post about this, that like what FaceApp said I would be, I far achieved it.
You
Like
surpassed it. Yeah.
yes. Like it had me, granted, I was a chubby person before. I was bigger. And it had me even bigger yet. It had me like it was not a pretty sight. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, yo, like stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
I've yet to achieve what FaceApp did to David. I still have yet to get there, but I'm aiming for. I mean, he gave me some to aim for. So,
but what it did do, if I can speak for you for a second, is it encouraged you and it inspired you.
Kept me going.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
Actually,
that's the important part. I think is not so much that it made you look exactly like you would look otherwise, but it showed you you can be this person. If not completely like this person, you can be a female, and that was what was important to me, to show me, hey, do this. You know that this is who you are supposed to be. So at FaceApp, I'm FaceApp. Go on. Be yourself. And getting back to your question, I haven't forgotten about your question. What advice would you give? Trust yourself. Trust yourself. You may have doubts. You may have fears. We've all had our doubts. We've all had our fears. But yet here we are today. If I didn't trust myself, I wouldn't be speaking to the three of you. And I value our friendships, Dani and Bree, and hopefully Rachel. I value our community. And I would not be a member of this community if I did not trust myself and believe in myself. And that's the advice I would give. Trust yourself.
I love it. It's wonderful. I guess we probably can call regular hours because it's almost time for after hours. And for those who don't know, we here at Girl Dad Girls like to invite our sexy guests and our sexy subscribers to stick around and see what Dani's going to take off, and what's Bree going to take off, and what's Rachel going to take off, and what's Steph going to take off. I don't know. You know what you do is you subscribe to the Girl Dad Girls After Hours and find out. Otherwise, read about it on the internet or whatever. But yeah, Bree, you want to take us out?
Sure. For those watching that were curious of what $700 was in 1996, it is $1,400 per the CPI calculator.
I would love that today. I would love that today.
I just had to. I'm sure people were curious.
Yeah.
Anyway, this has been another episode of Girl Dad Girls. Thank you for watching. We have our co-hosts Dani and Rachel, and Brianna, myself, and Stephanie. Thank you for coming by. You're gorgeous.
Yeah, thanks, Steph. All right.
Thanks for having me. It was truly an honor.
We love you.
In all seriousness.
Real quick. How do people find you on the internet? Where do they go to find you?
On Instagram, Stephanie and ABQ. That's my main hangout there.
I'm gonna put it in rainbow colors above your head.
Yeah, feel free to follow me. I post regularly. I do live chats most every night, as Dani and Bree will attest to, because they're frequently in those chats, and we have a ton of fun.
Yeah. Check us out. All right.
Lots of trivia. Lots of
trivia.
Margarita mix.
Well, we love you, and bye, everybody.
I love all of you. Thank you.
This has been a production of Girl Dad Girls Podcast. Check out new episodes every Thursday. If you are interested in knowing more, please email info@girldadgirls.com or find us on Instagram @girldadgirls. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.